everybody! I'm here today to share with you the process of making a really simple birthday card that's really cute. I like to make lots of birthday cards so that I have a stack of them ready to go when I have birthdays. I do dozens of birthdays every month, so it's nice to have something that I can do in an assembly line fashion and have lots of birthday cards that fit regardless of whether it's going to a guy or a girl or a kid or an adult. So I think this is one that fits that style. So to start out with today, we're going to start with a piece of Whisper White thick cardstock. This is just a single sheet of that cut in half at the 4 1/4 mark and then scored on that cut piece at 5 1/2. So we're going to fold that in half, get started on our card base here. So I am going to use that watercolor wash stamp today. And I don't have the block that fits these background stamps because they're so big. So what I do is I actually use my trimmer. If you just put that arm up, that gives you this nice flat surface that you can actually stick your cling stamp onto. And it's not going to move around or shuffle while you're doing your stamp. So we have that. We're going to stamp that in smoky slate today. So I am going to just ink up this background. Okay. Then I have a scratch piece of type paper, just something extra that printed out when I was printing something else. So I'm going to take my card base and I am going to just very carefully set it on this stamp. I want to set it down so it's not going to shift around as I'm setting it. Then I'm going to put that piece of type paper over the top and I am just going to press that card base into the stamp to make sure that all the pieces of the card base are actually hitting the raised portions of that stamp. So you don't want to press too hard because you don't want to necessarily bend that card base around the shape of the stamp impression. Just make sure that all the little places have made contact here. And then we will take that off. And there's our stamp. So we're going to set that aside for a minute. Set that aside. So the next piece that we're going to do for this card is we're going to use the balloon bouquet punch. And we are going to punch out some balloons. I have 3 different colors of cardstock here. These are just scrap pieces that I had. They're about 2 inches, at least in one direction, have to be 2 inches so that it'll fit the balloon. So I have Watermelon Wonder, Cucumber Crush, and Tempting Turquoise. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to use this larger balloon and punch that out. And I am actually going to punch 2 balloons out of the Watermelon Wonder. And just 1 balloon from the Tempting Turquoise and the Cucumber Crush. Okay. So I want these balloons to have some dimension on my card without embossing them or doing anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the inks that coordinate with each of those papers and some sponges. And I'm going to sponge ink on these. So when I'm sponging on different colored cardstocks, I always save the kind of red toned or pink toned cardstock till very last because for some reason red ink is the one thing that likes to transfer everywhere when you're doing stuff. So we're going to start with the cucumber. And what I'm going to do with these balloons is I want them to have dimension. I want them to have kind of an impression of being rounded with it. So I'm going to take my thumb and I am going to place it right where the highlight on that balloon would be. And then I can hold it from behind with the other. I'm going to ink my sponge and I'm going to start inking this balloon. So you are going to get a little bit of ink on your thumb in the process of it. But I'm taking this ink more than just the edges. I'm actually taking it up onto the face of the balloon. And I am just inking everywhere that my thumb is not. And I do like to make the edges just kind of dark in terms of the ink. Gives it just a little bit more dimension. But then you're left with a balloon that has a highlight where your thumb was. So let's do that again with the turquoise. So put my thumb where the highlight's going to be. And you do want to make, when you're doing these particular balloons, you want to put your highlight kind of in the same spot on each balloon because they're all going to be in a bunch. So the highlight would be similar on each of them. So next you're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock. And what we're going to do with that is we are going to start with our birthday banners stamps. And we want to use that banner right there. So I am going to put that on my stamp block, and I am going to stamp this with basic gray ink. As I drop it and make a big mess. Okay. Just gonna stamp that. Actually, while I have that out, I have another stamp I want to do. So this is It's Your Big Day, if I can find it. So it's Your Big Day stamp. And I'm just going to do this on a little piece of the Tempting Turquoise. So this is 1/2 inch by 2 inch piece. So we're just going to stamp that on there. Okay. And then we're going to pull out our Tempting Turquoise ink one more time. And we are going to use the Eat All the Cake stamp. So that is going to line up right inside that banner. I'm trying to keep my head out of the screen, so I'm kind of stamping at an awkward angle here. So there is that stamp. Now, if you have the Lots of Banners framelit set, then you can actually cut this out with the framelits. I don't have that, so I am going to fussy cut that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have that all cut out now. Now we're going to start working on assembly. So we got one Watermelon Wonder and that little blue strip. Those are going to be on the inside of the card. So let's start with the outside of the card. What we're going to do is we're going to take our linen thread, and we're going to cut 3 pieces out of this. Generally, I just kind of cut it where the bend is for the card. It's usually pretty close. So we got 3 pieces of that. And then we're going to take dimensionals and we're going to start putting dimensionals on the back of the balloons. I use 2 per balloon. So I'm going to put the top ones on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this linen thread and I am going to place it on the back of the balloon. And you want that thread to come across the nipple or the valve of the balloon. You want that to come straight down out of that valve of the balloon so that when it is on the card front, it looks like that string is attached to the balloon. And I'm just going to use the bottom dimensional to hold that string into place. So once you have all 3 done, we're going to line this up just a little bit on the card. So generally I only put 1 balloon there just so I know kind of where that's going, and then I'm going to kind of place the banner on there just so I can see where I want that positioned. So I'm thinking right about there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my snail and I am going to put a little piece right there. And we're going to take the backing off these dimensionals. And place our balloon on the card. And then that thread just goes right into that snail. We'll do the next. So when you're doing these side balloons, you want to kind of angle that balloon just a little bit so that thread continues to go straight down through on that valve or that nipple that's on there. So what do you call that little piece on a balloon? I've always called it a nipple, but some people don't like that word, so angle that one and place it. So we have a little bit of extra linen thread. We can actually trim that off when we get this banner in place. So I'm going to just put a couple dimensionals on the banner itself. Place that there on the card and then trim those strings just a little bit. Apparently my scissors need sharpened. So that's the outside of the card now. So let's do the inside. So on the back of this balloon, we're just going to put a little bit of snail there. And cut another piece of the linen thread. And put that right on the balloon. I'm going to add a little bit more snail on here, and then we're gonna just pop that into place, and I do put it just slightly off the edge. And then what I can do is just come in and just from the back side, trim off the excess. Just gives it a little bit of interest because it's going off the page there. So then our little piece of turquoise banner here that we stamped earlier, I'm just going to notch it and give it a little bit of a fishtail on the end. A little bit of snail to attach that as well. Just going to line that up to the edge of the page and just place it across. So that's the inside of the card. Then the last thing that you'd need to do is just put whatever your mark is or your label on the back side of the card, just so you have the maker's mark on there. And that's the card for today. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.